Is music a distraction? Can it be used to help students get better in their other core classes? Now, I'm not talking about the Mozart effect. The Mozart effect was debunked like decades ago, so we're not talking about the Mozart effect. What I'm really asking is, if students are involved more in their music classes, will it have an effect on how they approach their core classes, their core curriculum, math, English, science, that kind of thing? And we already know that music kind of incorporates all the subjects anyway. What I want to do today is kind of look at some of the research that's already been done on music and how it affects people, and if it can in fact help us improve in our other subjects. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hello everyone, my name is Kenneth English and welcome to my podcast for MUE502. I guess let me first kind of spell out what my research questions are. How does music connect the core general education subjects? There's a lot of research already been done on this, and we already know that music connects a lot of the other subject matters. My other question is, can music classes be used to help students improve their performance in core curriculum subjects? And then lastly, can music educators collaborate with general educators to improve the learning experience of the students? In my investigation, I want to see if students, by being active in my music classes, will it translate into not necessarily improved scores per se in like tests and stuff like that, but is there a correlation between the way music, I guess, helps them approach it? Does that make sense? So one of the articles that I covered in one of my in one of my annotated bibliographies was an article titled "The Effects of Music in Enhancing the Elementary Physical Education Environment." Now, I know a lot of people don't consider PE to be one of the core subjects, but I think we can all at least agree that physical health and overall well-being is something that every human being should want to strive for. And in this study, basically what they did was they wanted to see if playing music while kids were doing and engaged in physical activities, did it help them in the activities. And so what the study basically determined, it was 102 fourth grade students. They were involved in the study. Interviews and surveys were done after physical education lessons incorporated. Findings showed that the students enjoyed the physical activities more. I brought this study up to the PE teacher at my school. He said, he looked at me like, "Hey man, that's a no-brainer." I mean, he plays music during his lessons all the time. And in fact, most gyms in most newer schools now come with a fairly high-tech sound system, and it's for music. It's so, music can be played while the students are engaged in physical activity. I mean, I think one of the best examples of this is a website I use all the time in my classroom called Go Noodle. If you've never heard of Go Noodle, it's gonoodle.com, but it's basically the whole premise around the website is to get kids up and moving, and music is kind of the basis of how they do it. Really, a lot of really fun videos, and so I showed some of the videos to the PE coach, and now he uses some of them during some of his lessons, because some of the Go Noodle videos actually incorporate actual physical activities to get the kids up and moving, stretching exercises, and it's just a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun to use. So this article in particular really kind of jumped out at me because, one, it used the kids in the study are the same age as the kids that I teach all the time, and that ultimately I'm going to be doing my research on fourth graders. Of course, I teach kindergarten through fifth music, but ultimately I'm going to probably want to do my investigation on fourth and probably fifth graders, just to see what we come across. In my music activities, movement is very vital. Getting them moving, especially with the younger kids, it's always good to get them up and moving. Helps them with their motor skills. Helps them, just hand strength when they get to pick up the instruments and play the drums. It's always just good to get the kids up and moving. Let's take a look at another one of these articles. I hope I don't sound too nervous. I feel like I'm nervous. Do I sound nervous? All right, the first article that we looked at was the effects of music in enhancing, the elementary physical education environment, and this was out of the International Journal of Physical Education. It was by D. Barney and F.T. Pleban. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure I'm not. But the next article I want to look at is actually by A.A. D'Souza. This is in 2018. This is a fairly recent study. Cognitive effects of music and dance training in children. All right, this study was done on children ages 6 to 9. Again, this one stood out to me because this is going to be the age range in which I'm going to be conducting my investigation. 75 children were involved in the study. Parent consent was given. The study wanted to observe if musical training and dance training had cognitive benefits on children. The results of the study showed that even with as little as 2 weeks of music or dance training, some cognitive improvement was made in certain areas. Memory function was among one of the areas that was not affected by the training. But it was hypothesized that due to the challenging nature of music and dance, that students showed mental improvement in certain areas. And again, it's important to note that this is not the Mozart effect. They were basically saying that because of the challenge of having to put together rhythms or the challenge of having to memorize choreography, in which you end up having to go back and then perform perhaps in front of the teacher or in front of other students, would show some sort of cognitive improvement in the kids. Now, in contrast, what I'm investigating, the age range, again, in this study, the age range of the kids in this study, the age range of the kids in this study align with what I'm going to be investigating. Further analysis is needed on what would be the best survey instrument for me with my investigation. But again, I'm investigating whether or not just involvement in music at school can have a positive benefit on the way kids interact with their other subjects. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't usually stutter this much. I'm nervous a little bit, I think. I don't know what this is. Can y'all even see my shirt? Y'all like that shirt? Another article that I came across was an article by S. Salicia, 2014. To play that funky music or not, how music affects the environmental self-regulation of high-ability academic writers. Young scholars in writing, undergraduate research in writing and rhetoric. All right, so 12 individual students were selected to observe. All right, so I'm not just going to read all of that, but basically the study was to see if students could write better if music is playing in the background. 9 professors, 3 undergraduate students were among the participants. An important factor was that the writing be sort of self-regulated. So the kids, they were on their own. They had to show that they could write music on their do any kind of writing activity on their own, and if music while playing in the background helped or not. And this is why I asked my first question in the very beginning of the video. Is music a distraction? Well, here's what this study came up with. The results of the study showed 3 general answers towards music, and this was spread out amongst the professors and the students. Music is a distraction and should be avoided in a writing environment. That was the first one that came up. I said, man. Music can serve as good background noise to help block out other noises that can distract from writing. So in that instance, music was beneficial. And then last one is music in a writing environment can keep you focused and calm while writing. There's this app I recently got on my phone called Calm, and it basically uses music and storytelling to help you fall asleep, because I have trouble sleeping sometimes. And it's got some really nice music and melodies, and then you can have rain playing in the background of the music as well, and it helps you fall asleep. I mean, they came up with this app that's literally just, it's music based, and it's to help you sleep. So I found this study kind of interesting because it directly related to my investigation because it deals with the participants' use of music to influence a non-music activity. So the non-music activity in this case being the writing. But again, this study just kind of showed that music helped focus the mind. So again, there's some more research to be had, because I think if it was just kind of cut and dry that music does help students in other subjects, I think if we knew that definitively already, they would stop cutting music programs. But we already know that in most school districts, the music program a lot of times is the first to go when budgets and things like that start getting in trouble. So I think if more research is done to show how important music is, and I think when you're able to actually show some science that relates it, they will, they'll start leaving these music programs alone, and in fact they'll probably start funding them even better, especially if they find out, if we can think about it, if we could actually figure out that music indeed helps students to focus in other subjects that are non-music related. I mean, you're talking about improved test scores, and probably just an overall improved scholastic experience for the kids. I really hope I'm doing this right. Let's look at another article here. More Than Meets the Ear: Investigating How Music Affects Cognitive Task Performance. This is by M. Gonzalez and J.R. Ailio, A-I-E-L-L-O. Hello. Okay. All right. The purpose of this study was to examine the correlation between music performance and task performance, and the potential causing leading to loss of interest in performing tasks and boredom. Researchers have always shown interest in the effects of music listening and its effects on other cognitive tasks. When I look at this study, it kind of makes me want to refine my question a little bit. Not necessarily to prove or to show that music can help in other areas, but like, can interaction in music help in certain areas, like specific areas. Here's something interesting that I almost missed, which made me want to investigate this in the first place. One of the reasons many general education teachers may view music in such a negative way, in such a negative way, is because of the evidence being inferred by this study. This study is basically saying that let's see, distraction conflict theory suggested that music acted as a distraction when participants performed tasks. So this study might be one of those reasons. I mean, just not. I know every general education teacher didn't actually necessarily read this study, but again, what it's inferring kind of leads me to why I want to investigate the thing that I want to investigate, to show that it's not. Depending on how it's used. Now let's talk about that as well. Depending on how it's used, music can be somewhat of a distraction, right? I mean, you don't want to be blaring heavy metal music while you're trying to sleep, right? So you wouldn't want to be blaring any booming hip hop music while you're trying to take a math test either, right? So I guess it just depends on the type of music and the type of task. But I think what I'm really trying to get at here is interaction in music classes. Can it help with other tasks that are non-music? Okay. I find it fascinating how music is not as pivotal a part of the lives of children as it used to be. So in one of the classes that I took with Dr. Lincoln's, I think it was music teaching and learning, we learned about the old boys singing schools and that sort of thing. It was that wasn't like something. It was a requirement. It wasn't extracurricular. So now everything in music now, it almost comes across as extracurricular, and then so now in the minds of general education teachers, it's extra. So it's not as important. But how did we get here? How did we get to this point where music isn't seen as that important? I mean, you find one commercial for me on television that doesn't have music playing. Every time the NFL comes on, there's music playing. That NFL thing. When a new movie trailer comes out, what's in the background is music. I mean, music's everywhere. And some of those same educators who think kids' involvement in music is just extra and not as important. I say, okay, if it's not that important, then when you get in your car to go home, make sure that radio is off. Right? If music's not that important, because you listen to music when you're driving, especially after a long day at work. You want to listen to some music in the car while you're driving. It helps you calm down, helps you feel better. Okay. Perceived attributes of music teaching effectiveness among kindergarten teachers. So this research study was to try and understand if general education kindergarten teachers perceived whether music learning had positive effects on their students or not. Now, many studies have shown that music can have an overall positive effect on the lives of children when they are younger. However, this study wanted to see what kindergarten teachers thought about this. So many teachers involved in the study admitted to using attributes of teaching music, while some were not as confident in teaching music. And now I have seen this firsthand. So at my school, every kid in the whole school comes to music, except for the pre-K students. The pre-K students don't come to music. Their pre-K teacher gives a little music lesson in the middle of the day at some point. And she's got the whole nine in there. She's got instruments, little drums, little whistles and stuff. I might be trying to take my job or something out. No, I'm just, but a lot of general education, especially kindergarten, and I've even seen some first grade students. They incorporate music into a lot of their general lessons. There's a lot of songs about the weather. You know, they have to do calendar every morning. So I know some of the teachers actually use a lot of music for that. One of the kindergarten teachers is actually my piano accompanist for the choir. So she uses music all the time. She even sings to her kids when she can. But this study seems to indicate that general education teachers, particularly kindergarten teachers, should try to include the use of music when teaching general subject matter. I think if more research is done on how music can have positive benefits in other aspects of our lives, and specifically musical activities in school, like actually, not just listening to music on your own and that sort of thing, but I'm talking about actually being interactive with music at the school can have benefits on other non-musical areas in the child's life, and I think this will also help, especially at the elementary level. It'll help us to be able to advocate for our programs better. If we can, if there's research, if there's evidence that shows that, listen, me being here as a music teacher is helping all of these kids improve in their lives. So when budgets start to get in trouble and that sort of thing, music should be the last thing that gets cut. All right, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. I really hope I did this right. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. I do have a habit of doing that when I hit record. And I don't know why I was so nervous doing this activity, but it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. So anyway, hope this has been informative, or at least I hope we can open up the discussion more, because there's definitely more to talk about and more research needs to be done. Thanks again, y'all.